Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure you can all hear me with or without the microphone. So good morning, and today I would like to talk to you about an idea I have, and I'd like to share it with you and see what you think. What I want to talk about is the way we approach general education here at the college and other institutes of higher learning, and the way we deliver it. This is what I hear from a lot of my students. I'll let you just have a look at that. And it's not that they are ill-prepared, but sometimes we seem to get full of ideas and thoughts and impressions, but not fact. And I think there's a way to help you. So in addition to this, how many students here love their gen ed program? And this is the frustration I've been hearing from students for many years now. And I think your frustration is twofold. One, limited choices. And two, subject matter that's delivered to you that you may or may not be thrilled about, and you get 45 hours of it. Am I right? Yes, okay. So why not consider offering some unique, rotating 3-hour classes every week for 15 weeks and give you 15 weeks of general education on 15 different subjects over the course of your term. And I think we can do this through people who are currently here at the college, tapping into what we call intellectual or social capital. Press here. So what's intellectual capital? It's simply something that accountants and executives are starting to recognize that's really important in their community, the community of their company. So we usually think of capital as buildings and property, but intellectual capital starts by talking about the people and what they know about how this college works. We also talk about social capital, and we should be measuring what the culture is at the college. We can also talk about structural capital, but I believe there's a fourth part, and that has to be general knowledge that we all have and share. So the question should be to you, and the question I give to our team here at the college is, why are we limiting you so in your general education? I don't think that's what higher education's about, and I don't think what a good liberal education should include is 1 or 2 topics only outside of your area of study. So let's consider some of the topics in delivering them in smaller bites, and let's improve your overall education and understanding of the world. How this all came to me recently was, for a number of years, I've taught a course in HR called Training and Development. It couldn't be more dry, but we do our best to make it interesting. The purpose of the course is to help students understand how to put together training manuals on any subject and deliver them on the job or off the job. How I modified this course and what really got me thinking was I now challenge my students to teach me something, teach all of us something. And they say, well, what do you mean? What do I have to teach? I said, it can be any subject matter you want as long as it's legal, okay? And the amazing thing was students became highly motivated. And I thought, well, wait a minute, why are you so motivated to do this? So spend a bit of time researching what is motivation. Top leadership people will tell you motivation is not fame and money and glory. Motivation comes from 3 things: mastery, autonomy, and purpose. So mastery means you feel you're really good at something and you really know a lot about something. Autonomy means you have the freedom to deliver it the way you want to and to share it with people. And purpose is, much like Simon Sinek said in his talk, do you believe what I believe? Would you like to understand this? I really want you to know this. I have a lot of fun with this, or I really enjoy it, and I think I want to share this information with people. That's what motivates someone. So if we can do this, if we can find people who know something, okay, so there's the mastery, and say to you, I want you to teach this for 3 hours and get people inspired and do it any way you want. That gets them the autonomy portion of it. And the purpose is, who doesn't love to share things that they love and that they do? So with that in mind, I challenge my students. And over the years, we've had some pretty amazing topics. Some of the things my students have taught us are world politics. They talked to us about professional hockey goaltending skills. How do they do that? We went down to the gym, set up a net, everyone got a chance to put all the equipment on. It was tons of fun, and we all learned something. We've studied the fascinating world of origami. How many people know what origami is? Yes. How many are really good at it? No. So we had an expert in our class, and who knew? But she taught us the process, and I still have folded swans sitting on the shelf in my office, and I'm very proud of them. We talked about social dancing. How many of you have ever been uncomfortable when your great aunt comes to you at a wedding and said, please dance with me? And you think, oh God, I can't, my feet are left, I don't know what to do. So one of our students helped us understand and gave us over the course of the 3 hours, delivered a manual to me and also instructed us on social dancing. We can talk about US politics. You may have heard something about it in the news recently. We had a semi-professional baseball player. I've always loved baseball, but if you asked me how do I hold a ball and throw a curveball or how do I throw a knuckleball, I had no idea. So not only did he explain it to us, he brought in a giant bushel basket full of baseballs. We went outside, we started practicing, and then he instructed us on the physics of throwing these different pitches. So now I understand the game much more. For my couch potatoes, I had one student who came up and said, I only do video games when I'm not at school. I said, great, get your favorite game and instruct us on it. I don't care if it's a console-based game or some sort of worldwide adventure that you're on. Come in, put it up on the screen, show us how it works, why you love it, what it's all about. We had a student came up and do some professional music editing. We've had people come up who are chefs. I never knew, but they've got the skill and they're part of our community. And finally, we've had people who come from other parts of this world, and I say, well, how about some conversational training? We've learned introductory Mandarin, Greek, French, Spanish, and we just had some fun sharing words back and forth and realizing we can do it. One of my favorite projects was this one. So we had a student who said, I have an idea and I'd like to share it with you. Why can't we be tech entrepreneurs? I said, of course you can. Why can't I trade my allowance in for showing my mom and dad how to actually use their cell phone, how to use their DVR, how to use different technology? And that student even expanded. He has a business that runs today in Brockville. If you're struggling with a video game, you spend all this money, I'm at level 9 and I can't get to level 10. For a small fee, he'll come over and show you how to get there. What are the results of all of this? Brilliant presentation from our students. People love to show and teach you things that they love and enjoy to do. So why not expand this idea, look for expertise in everything from not only faculty, but all of you. The people who work in staff, our managers, the entire social community of St. Lawrence College could contribute to this process. I've also noticed that our high school grads in particular sometimes have a bit of a limited understanding of things like politics, world news, personal finance, job interview skills, science, geography, music. And I'm spending sometimes in my class just trying to make sure that if they have an opinion on something, we clarify by saying, by the way, great opinion, but here are the facts, now what's your opinion? And it may or may not change, but at least you're based on facts instead of fantasy. So what will happen if we do all this and we have 3 hours every week on a wide variety of subjects? Well, I think we'll end up with a better world understanding. It's one of my favorite slides. If you can't read it, it starts by saying, Dad, what causes wind? And Dad says, trees sneezing. He says, really? He says, no, but the truth is far too complicated. Then he's out with his buddy and says, hey, the trees are really sneezing today. And this is what I think happens throughout the world. We hear a snippet of information, we make an opinion, and then we share that opinion, but it's not fact. And often arguments these days seem to be won by who can yell the loudest, not who has the best case. So I believe we have an obligation to do something about it. Let's just talk briefly about the bombastic news commentary we see. First slide basically says, oh, do you want plastic straw with that drink and destroy the environment? Or would you like a paper straw so you can destroy all the trees? So think about that for a second. But we need the knowledge to understand what does that really mean and what is the right choice. The middle cartoon is all about our good friend President Trump. And you may or may not agree with him, you may or may not like him as a person, but as business people in particular, we need to understand that 90% of all our trade is with the United States. So what's happened to the economy in the last 2 years and why? Is there a reason there to be happy or worried, or where do we go? But let's talk facts instead of all the yelling that we hear on television. And then closer to home, if you look at the one other cartoon, when cannabis became legal, there were lots of people say the world's about to end and we are all waiting for the day it went legal and no one would come to school and they'd all be high wandering off somewhere in the streets of Brockville, and that didn't happen. On the other hand, some of our friends who particularly enjoy the substance are saying it's not clouds up in the sky, that's actually smoke from my joint, but there you go. I've also wondered if we could do some additional topics like, again, world news, impact on Canada, religions. How about cannabis? Anybody out here a cannabis expert can now admit it? Maybe you would like to come up and do a 3-hour presentation on medical uses, recreational uses. How do you grow it? Where does it come from? What's the government's decision on where we buy it and sell it? I'm not an expert. You might be, so perhaps we need you to do the course for 3 hours. We could talk about fitness. Glenn Volbrecht, our president, is a long-distance runner. I don't know the first thing about running. I just know when the cafeteria opens, I run towards it. But other than that, I would like to know more about fitness and cycling and so on as I get older. What about astronomy? How many people know China just landed a module on the moon, taking up samples on the dark side, never been done before in the history of mankind? That's what I thought. Why are we, one did, great. Why aren't we sharing that information and understanding the world better? What about diversity studies? What about the Me Too movement? Okay, we hear what we want to hear, but let's get the facts and understand better. What about environmental disasters? But at the same time, there's all kinds of environmental successes around the world that we never hear about, and we need to understand it in order to have a better appreciation of the world at large. So in my opinion, the next step should be, let's encourage our college administration and the Ministry of Education to pursue this idea of snippets of important information, or maybe just general information, over one term instead of 45 hours of something you may or may not want to embrace. I officially here now challenge our college to take this idea and run with it. I'm looking for knowledgeable educators in a wide range of subjects. You know something, let me know, we'll talk about it. So top corporations and colleges and institutions of higher learning, they must dip into this vast pool of capital that exists within their companies, and I'm talking intellectual capital, and share it with each other. The end result, I believe, is this will happen less. Thank you very much.